Welcome back to my channel once again, Rosa Newborns. In this video, I'm going to talk about bottle feeding. Bottles can be used on both breast milk and formula, but today let's talk about formula. Formula is full of nutrients your baby can thrive on, close to breast milk. It can be also very useful when mothers have complications after birth and they can't breastfeed their babies. It could be anything, it could be medical complications, anything. It can be very useful when a mother just don't want to breastfeed. Some mothers just don't want to breastfeed. I've seen a lot of mothers who didn't want to breastfeed. Sometimes mothers want to use both mixture, bottle feeding and breastfeeding. That's good, that's okay. Whichever way you want to feed your baby, as long as you feed your baby. And I like it when you don't have to worry about what to eat, what not to eat. Unlike breastfeeding, I don't know whether some of you guys have watched Patricia Wright's recent video whereby she had to stop breastfeeding because she thought that maybe breastfeeding is flaring up her baby's allergies. And also, formula is very good when you are weaning your baby off breastfeeding, especially when you do it before. Some mothers just want to breastfeed until, let's say, 4 months, sometimes 12 weeks, whatever it is. Formula is a very good alternative to breast milk, especially when your baby is not yet 6 months. Also, I like its flexibility. That flexibility that you don't have to feed your baby all the time. Somebody else can step in and feed your baby. Like when you are not around, sometimes you just want to have a break. Somebody else can feed your baby. So we should really be grateful to the brains that have come up with this alternative to breast milk. After saying all of that, formula is an added expense, which isn't always cheap. I tell you what happened recently. My niece had a baby in Africa and she couldn't find the formula she was feeding her baby, and she asked me to ship some milk for her baby. And it tends to be very expensive because then you have to pay for the cost of shipping it. By the time it gets to Africa, it is double the price. The price is hiked. And also, sometimes formula can be tricky, especially in those undeveloped countries. It can easily be counterfeited. It's very common. People get milk from here. The milk gets in Africa. They start mixing in so many stuff to make more milk. And before you know, your baby is having issues. So in undeveloped countries, it can be very, very tricky. Bottle feeding requires very high hygiene maintenance. You will need a sterilizer. You will need a basin where to wash your bottles to avoid contamination. And those bottles must be sterilized very well. So be prepared to maintain a very high level of hygiene standard. And lastly, no formula can duplicate breast milk. Sometimes formula make babies constipated. I was once looking after this little baby. It was a newborn baby. And this baby was constipated for almost 4 weeks. And I told the mother, oh, the baby is not really going toilet very well. The baby was only doing pellets. And I told the mother, maybe the milk is not good for him. And the mother said, that's what I used on my previous baby. Just continue with that. I don't want to change. And I felt sad because this baby wasn't really going toilet, to be honest. And you know what I did at 6 weeks? I started diluting the baby's milk. Instead of putting 5 scoops of milk in 5 ounces of water, I used 4 scoops in 5 ounces of water. So I watered it down a bit for some time. And by 8 weeks, the baby had started going to the toilet very well. And there was one explosion. It appeared that all the poop that was hiding in there, that day came out. It was a big explosion. I've seen so much poop from a newborn baby, 8 weeks baby. It was too much. So babies tend to get constipated, not all the time, but they do with formula, which is not common at all with breast milk. Another thing I want to talk about, what confuses a lot of mothers who are bottle feeding with formula, is not knowing how much to give their babies and how often. This is my experience. This is what I have been doing, and it has been working perfect well. 4-hourly routine is perfect, and your baby will thrive, your baby will be content, you will have a very happy baby on a 4-hourly feed. I tell you one experience. A while ago, this mother called me, and her baby was crying. The mother herself was crying, and the baby was very little, 10 days old, and she was only formula fed. I said to her, okay, I will come, don't cry, I'll come and see what is happening. And when I got there, I held the baby in my hands, and I realized the baby's stomach was so big because I was changing the baby's nappy. It was so big. The mother had told me she's crying all the time, non-stop. I didn't sleep at all last night. I was walking around and the baby was just crying. And I looked at the baby's stomach. My goodness, the baby's stomach was bulging both sides. And I didn't raise my voice. I just watched what is happening. And I held the baby nicely. And the baby became very calm in my arms. And we had a chat. And I asked her, how often do you feed your baby? And she said to me, I feed my baby every 1 hour and a half or 2 hours. And I said to her, how much do you give your baby every 1 hour and a half or 2 hours? And she said, sometimes she drinks 1 ounce, sometimes 1.5 ounces, sometimes 2 ounces. I laughed. I said to her, why do you do that? Feed your baby every 1 hour and a half, 1 ounce there, 1 ounce here. Would you eat like that? Would you like to eat like that every 1 hour and a half, something to eat, every 1 hour and a half, something to eat? Would you like that? And she just watched me, and I said to her, you know what? Don't feed your baby every 1 hour and a half. Don't feed your baby 1 ounce there, 1 ounce here, 2 ounces there. It doesn't make sense. You don't have a break. And this baby's digestive system is not having time to digest the food you put in earlier. Before she digests it, you top up. It's not good at all. So poor baby, that's why she's crying. I know this baby had reflux, but on top of the reflux and this continuous feeding, I don't think it helps much. No wonder she was a crying baby. So I told her, we have to change the structure of feeding your baby altogether. And she said to me, what should we do? And I said to her, you have to feed your baby every 4 hours. And she said to me, she looked at me. She wasn't convinced. And she said to me, what will I do when the baby cries? And I said to her, no. Babies don't cry for food alone. They cry for so many reasons. And I'm sure your baby is not crying for food, but crying for too much food. She just doesn't have time to digest her food. And she said, she wasn't convinced at all. You know what I did? I said to her, I'm going to spend with you 24 hours. And I'm changing the way you feed your baby within these 24 hours. So I started feeding the baby when she was hungry the next feed. And after that feed, she fed very well. I didn't feed her until 4 hours later. She drank very well. She started to calm down. She started to relax a bit. And all the way through the 24 hours, I fed that baby every 4 hours. And I decided even to stay longer, another 24 hours, to make sure I establish that 4-hourly feed routine. So the following day I started all over again. 7, a bottle. 11, another bottle. 3, another bottle. 7, another bottle. So we established a very nice routine of bottle feeding with that baby. And by the time I left, that baby was on a 4-hourly routine. And guess what? She asked me, how do you do that? That's why I told you, if you know what to do, life will be easier. But if you don't know what to do, you end up having a messy, crying baby. And she told me later that she had started spreading the news that you can feed your baby on a 4-hourly routine. And she told her friends, and her friends told them, no, it is impossible. I'm sure your baby is going to lose weight. My goodness, she started weighing her baby. She started panicking that her baby is losing weight. But that baby was putting on weight very well. And this is what I have done all my entire life working with newborn babies. Once the baby is formula fed, it's 4-hourly routine. Babies put on weight very well and thrive, and no mother has ever complained. It gives you time as well to have your own time, not always baby in your hands to feed. And also it gives baby time to sleep. Newborns love sleeping. Not only do they love sleeping, sleeping is part of growth with newborn babies. So if you are feeding your baby every hour and a half, when is that baby going to sleep? When? So if you are feeding your baby every 4 hours, you have 3 hours in between for your baby to sleep. And babies do sleep at this early stage. So follow that. That one, just follow that. I assure you, there is no doubt about it, you will succeed in bottle feeding. I don't want to give you any other alternative. And I don't even want you to look elsewhere. That's the perfect way of feeding your baby with a bottle on formula. Now, another thing is temperature. How warm should my baby's milk be? This is what I did, and it worked very, very well. I wake up at 6 o'clock, let me put it that way. I prepare my bottles for the day. And I put the amount of water in the bottle I'll need for the baby throughout the 24 hours. I don't mix it. I don't mix milk in it. I just prepare water and leave the bottles outside on room temperature. Some mothers, what they do, they mix the milk and put the milk in the fridge. Why do you do that? If you are doing that one, mother, I want to ask you, taste that milk. And I'm telling you, the moment you open that bottle, you'll say, oh, the smell. And this is what you are giving your baby. Don't mix the milk hours away. Mix the milk when you are going to feed your baby. That's the right way of doing it. Preparing a fresh meal for your baby. And what you can do is, the temperature varies. And sometimes it's what you familiarize your baby with. In my experience, I use a slightly higher temperature than room temperature. But some babies don't like that. They just want room temperature. And some babies want a little bit warmer. This one boy I was looking after, newborn baby, we started off with slightly higher temperature than the room temperature. He loved his bottle. He enjoyed it. Oh, Very good. But at around 20 weeks, he decided to refuse the bottle. And I said to myself, you've been drinking your bottle so well for the past 20 weeks and suddenly you are changing. What's wrong? So what I did, I said, okay, maybe you don't want the warm milk. Let's try the room temperature. And that's what I started giving him. The moment I gave him the room temperature, he loved that. So at 20 weeks, he changed. And by the time I left, when he was like 6 months, 24 weeks, he was on room temperature milk and he loved it. But everybody have their own preferences. Whatever you familiarize with your baby, sometimes baby will refuse. Whatever your baby would accept, I would advise, follow your baby. In the next part of the video, I'm going to show you how I prepare the bottle, feed the baby, change the nappy, and wean the baby. Let's go. I shake the bottle sideways to avoid powder going into the teat to clog the teat's outlet. And also, up-down shaking is not good because it creates a lot of air in the bottle and that will affect your baby's tummy. Okay, Ruby is 4 months old. She has reflux. As you may know, feeding a reflux baby can be a bit tricky, but she looks very ready for her bottle. When you are putting the teat in the baby's mouth, make sure you put it on top of the lip, upper lip, to make sure the teat sits on the tongue. Allow your baby to open the mouth wide because sometimes the teat can go under the tongue. Ruby is on hip organic. I love hip organic. It's very gentle with babies, but of course your preference. I like mom bottles and Nook bottles, but be prepared. They have so many pieces, so be prepared to wash them. Now my attempt to wean baby Ruby, and if it doesn't happen straight away, I do other things in between. If she doesn't wean straight away, I will put her down, and when she wiggles or stick out her tongue, then I will know she's ready to wean. But still, if it doesn't happen, I change her nappy. I want to talk about digging fingers in the baby's flesh. It hurts. Don't dig your fingers into the baby's flesh. Rather, wrap them around your hands. As you can see now, I don't dig fingers in baby's flesh. Now ready for the second half. But I'm waiting for that wind. She will win soon. Definitely she's going to give me a win. It has happened now. We are going into our second half. The same procedure on top of the lip. The teat must be fully in the mouth, and please fill up the teat so that your baby doesn't suck air in. Okay, now we come to the end of our video, and I hope you have learned something. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Until then, happy mother, smiley baby.